A bunch of these people are just normal people, dude. Yet the decisions they've made in life had led them to loneliness. So this one is, I have no friends. Welcome to the world today. Apparently for women too. It's a trend and it's worse than you think, by Acta. Small account. See what that's about.
About 2 months ago, I made a video talking about my struggle with making friends. And my first instinct when posting that video was, who's going to want to watch this? I didn't think it would be interesting enough. But on the flip side, I also knew there was potential for this video to do well, based on the fact that I had seen other similar videos on YouTube pick up. The first one I ever watched was of this girl called Myra West. 21 years old, I have no friends. The video has no fancy filter.
I find it interesting that in the world today, with all the social safety nets and all this shit available to women to make friends, right? Society's like geared towards them, the gynocracy. Everything is available at their fingertips, made specifically, essentially for them to benefit. That they're now undergoing is trend of struggling to have friendships. We already know they don't really get along with one another too well. They see each other as competition, especially when there's men involved. But now the social awkwardness and the disconnect through our, quote, digital lives we're so infatuated with is creating a whole class of women also, not just men, that are lonely.
Film set up, there's no fancy editing, it's literally just this girl talking about how she has no friends. And it randomly came up on my YouTube homepage because apparently YouTube knows that I'm a bit of a loner. Not long after, I got recommended another video, and then another, and then another. Okay, YouTube, I get it. I have no friends, you don't need to rub it in. It took me a YouTube search of no friends to realize just how many videos like this exist.
And we covered this one. I'm 31 and have no friends with this guy, Camelot 331. He was sharing an incredible story how he's just lonely, dude. And this is unfortunately, and you see a vast majority of what she scrolls through is mostly men, dude. Men are in so much trouble. It's so dangerous today that you can fall in the pit. And I hate to bring it up because a bunch of you in the chat are actually going through this right now, but porn and video games. You guys are absolutely addicted and you've reduced your life down to the digital space. You went deeper in the matrix and your life disappears the moment you flip off the switch and the electricity turns off on your console. Your life disappears. On your PC, poof. It's sad when you built your entire social structure, your safety net on a video game and the game don't work. The server's offline. What do you do?
Existed. But that's not even the surprising part. The surprising part is just how many views these videos get. Even channels which don't have many subscribers or that are relatively new have thousands of views on these videos. So it's like the algorithm just picks up these videos and they completely blow up. So are we just jumping on a trend here?
Let's see, did her video blow up? I didn't look at the views. And she's got 500,000. Her video got 500,000 views. This is a small channel. So it blew up. She hacked the algorithm. There you go.
Well, based on my own experiences, when I was posting that video, I know how hard it was to do. It was very personal. And to be honest, no one wants to go online to admit to the rest of the world that they have no friends. It's kind of embarrassing. And to be honest, it's something that I've carried a lot of shame over. It's something that I've tried to hide in my real life. But the views on these videos, the views tell me something completely different. It's not the creator jumping on a trend or trying to create the trend. It's almost like having no friends is the trend. And maybe trend is the wrong word. I think it's an epidemic. And the worst part of it, I feel like it's not even that we all feel alone. We also feel like we're all alone in experiencing this. But surely these videos and the fact that they have so many views proves otherwise. It was absolutely crazy for me to see how many people connected to my story. A story that, to be honest, I thought I was so alone in. And I was also really shocked and, to be honest, really confused that I got so many Instagram DMs saying that they really related to it. And when I clicked on these people's profiles, for some of those people, their feeds presented a completely different story. They looked like they had loads of friends, and they looked like the kind of people that I used to compare myself to in terms of my social life. And I'm not going to lie, I was quite comforted by that. So this isn't about social anxiety because my previous video was really about social anxiety. I feel like this is a more widespread issue. I feel like a lot of people are struggling with the fact that they have no friends or feel quite alone. So how did we get here, guys? Why do so many of us feel like we're alone? Why do so many of us struggle with loneliness that we watch or create videos about having no friends?
I have to say it's all in your head. It's a mentality thing. It's the energy you put out. I don't know what she's about to say, haven't seen it. But you're not disfigured. You're an attractive young woman. It's a choice that you made. You chose to be alone. Now, are we going to get an excuse of her externalizing her problems and blaming childhood, blaming personality, blaming other people, circumstances that she's living in, work hours, whatever, balance is off, etc. A bunch of these people are just normal people, dude, yet the decisions they've made in life had led them to loneliness. I'm very curious, boys, to see what she says. Let's hear it.
I think the first thing is that we've been completely misled. I think we all have expectations for what we think friendships should look like, and I think we can blame the media for this.
There goes, blaming traditional media now, right away. Yes, it is one of the many culprits, but at the end of the day, do you not have agency in your own decisions? Do you not have autonomy? Are you not your own person? Or are you an NPC? So you're basically self-admitting, unfortunately, that media, social and traditional, runs your life, sets your expectations, and tells you what your purpose should be. That's a mental slave. That's the system controlling you. You're an NPC. This is the song that plays. Don't want to shit on lonely people, dude. But if your excuse is going to be traditional media, you are a bot. You don't think for yourself. Your boundaries are weak. You have no self-esteem. You've been told what your value should be. And now you're alone.
First, there's the traditional media. We grew up watching 6 friends who always hang out at the coffee house and who don't seem to need any other friends. Even over 10 years with breakups, marriages, career changes, or kids, the 6 of them forever stay constant and their friendships don't change. And God bless that show. I have it on the background, it's always on repeat, but I also know how unrealistic it is. I think it's really rare that we'll stay best friends with the people that we went to school with, or that we'll become best friends with our flatmates, or that as we experience major changes in our lives, that the dynamics of our friendships wouldn't change. I mean, I'm sure it is possible, I just don't think it's as easy as the show makes out. And how many movies have we watched where the main character, even someone who is somewhat of an outcast and isn't inherently seen as popular, has a best friend? And how many movies have we seen where you're sure to get friends based on your similarities, whether that's how you look, your culture, how athletic you are, or hobbies? So these are the stories that we grew up around, and even though we know they're fiction, we know they're not real, I'm sure in some way they fed our beliefs about what our friendship should look like as we get older. And then there's social media, and I want to ask you a question because
there we go again. So we blamed movies, we blame TV. That's our first problem. So everything we consumed, we have no brains. We never knew this was just TVs and movies and they were selling an image. Nope. Now we're moving on to social media. Even worse, because you get sold ads without even knowing. The lifestyles are mostly fake. It's the highlight reel of Instagram. Everybody looks happy. When they could be completely miserable, you wouldn't even know it. And this is the trap young people are falling into. Not even young people, because we saw 30 plus, 40 plus all alone, dude. What do all these people have in common?
it's something that I've been really thinking about. When do you post on Instagram stories? Is it when you're by yourself, reading a book or watching TV, or is it when you're out socializing? I'm guessing that it's when you're out socializing, and I feel like a lot of us seem to show that on Instagram, even if it's only 2% of our real life. So now realize that everyone else is exactly the same. We tend to hop on social media when we're actually being social, and instead we consume social media when we're by ourselves. So do you see what I'm saying? I feel like social media really distorts how social we all actually are. It makes it seem like we're all socializing all of the time.
Again, this is a problem of personal consumption. You're not consuming social media in a positive manner. You consume it when you're alone. You're using it as a coping mechanism. You're coping in lonely times by stalking other people's feeds. I personally don't use social media that way, dude. I stay off of that shit. And the only time I'm using it is to take a few pictures when I'm out doing stuff with friends, hiking. But when I'm alone, I'm off my phone. I pull it out when I'm with people so I can tag them right then and there. Or share pictures we just took when we're doing group activities. And then it goes away. It has absolutely no purpose in your life after that. Of course, some people have very little purpose in life, very little self-esteem, absolutely no sense of who they are, an identity, and they will cope by consuming insane amounts of social media, and therefore that becomes their identity. I mean, have you seen it when chicks post a picture online and it doesn't get enough likes, enough comments, hard eyes, all that shit, and they get depressed immediately? This affects weak minds tremendously, dude. It's the ultimate tool of mind control. The puppet masters have devised such an incredible tool to keep people mentally enslaved, and they called it social media. The weakest of the minds among us in society are absolutely hooked on this like it's crack. Digital crack, in fact.
Because that's when we tend to post, and because we're around social media all the time, it seems like everyone is socializing all the time. And so because of that, that set the standard for what we think our social life should look like, but it's not actually realistic. Social media has also changed the way that we socialize.
I have a feeling this entire video is going to be her externalizing her problems. Not a single bit of introspection or self-reflection or how she can change her habits, how she can change her thoughts, her sense of self-worth, her purpose in life, what she really wants out of life, who she is as a person. None of that, dude. No looking within. We only look outwards for the problems. This is the victimhood mentality. This is the culture we have today.
So it's really strange to think about it, but social media hasn't actually been around that long. I remember using it from the age of 16, so that's about 12 years. And before that, we socialized in completely different ways. And even our parents and our grandparents socialized in completely different ways to what we do now. I remember before the age of 16, after school, I would go home and I'd sit on the phone for an hour to my friends. But now, because we have so much constant communication, we almost don't need to do that. We don't really have to pick up the phone because we can very easily send a DM or a WhatsApp message. And even when we get bored at home, instead of filling our time by talking to people, we know that we can just watch Netflix or hop online. So I think social media is great when it gives you the ability to connect with people who you wouldn't be able to otherwise in real life, like people who live on the opposite side of the world. But when it comes to people that we know in our real lives, I just don't think social media is very social. And it's such a shame because I feel like social media has infiltrated our lives in such a pivotal way that it's almost become too much of an effort to socialize in the normal way. And the final reason why I think a lot of us feel alone, and this might be hard to hear, I think it's because of us. I don't want to blame just the media for the way that we're feeling. I also think we have to take responsibility and think about how we've caused things or how we haven't helped things. There are definitely some things that are outside of our control, like I can't control the fact that my friends cut me out at 18. But being brutally honest with myself, I can also see how in the past I've put my relationship before friendships or my career before my friendships. I think a major part of it is that so many of us are so used to instant gratification. So we are so used to just meeting people for the first time and them instantly adding us on social media, liking and commenting on our photos. And even in other areas of our lives, we're so used to instant gratification that I feel like we've just forgotten how much effort is actually required for things. I've honestly come to realize that friendships require just as much effort as a relationship with a partner. I feel like it's so different to family because with family, no matter what, you are family, but friends can easily drift, friends can easily move on. So you do need some sort of consistency.
Those aren't real friends. Real friends you can pick up after plenty of time apart, dude. I have friends that I literally will call, speak to maybe a few times a month. No, way less than that. Maybe a few times like in 3 months. And we can pick up like nothing's ever happened, dude. Back from square one. Easy peasy, no problems. Potentially try to make plans or not. Some of them live across the country. And I could pick up and it's the energy and the connection is there. The brotherhood is far stronger. These are the shallow friendships that women have are not comparable to the deep bonds men make with one another, dude. I have no problem picking up the phone or having somebody call me that I haven't spoken to for months and just picking it up right where we left off and having a grand old time. There's no resentment, no having to baby a relationship. It's not a ton of work. There is no work, dude. Life happens. We're men. We understand that. Moving on. Call me when you're available, brother. Not a problem. Oh, you just had a baby. Oh, you got married. Oh, you got promoted at work. Damn, dude, it's been like 4 months since we talked. So happy for you. Let's get together. Let's catch up. Not an issue, dude. No animosity. No resentment whatsoever. No work needed. We understand that's life and we're going through it. And we cherish those very rare moments when we have enough time to come together and hang out. That's it.
An effort there. I also think so many of us are really focused on where we're going in life and developing ourselves. I feel like a lot of us.
And another thing, because men don't compete with each other in the same manner as women see themselves, competition with one another. A man will compete with his friends, but also lift each other up to do better. It's a healthy form of competition where you drag your brothers up with you. You try to make them be better men. You try to strengthen one another. You know, it's like you're as strong as your weakest link in the chain. That's the mentality men have. We revel in the success of our own. We're happy. On the other side of the aisle, there's bitterness and jealousy. You see it all the time.
Really do work on our habits and our goals.
Like the TikToks and the other short form content we watched earlier from that one video when my friends are leaving me behind. They're all getting married. I hate it. Just leave your man. He's getting in between our friendship. Yeah, that's how they think, dude. Crabs in a bucket. They try to, misery loves company with the quote, women of today that engage in hookup culture, all this other stuff. And they'll externalize all their problems just like this one is doing for the most part. She's taking some, responsibility and accountability for the fact that she's let her relationships drift. But for the most part, they don't. And they try to drag all their friends down with them into a life of loneliness and collecting cats and dogs. And that's essentially what it is. But it's not popular to say that in the mainstream.
Goals and things like that, which is great, but it is really hard to balance everything. So of course something has to give. And I feel like so often that means socializing and friendships. I've definitely been guilty of this, but I also see it in a lot of other people. I just feel like everyone is so focused on their own life and where they're going. So I think a mix of these three reasons are how we got to this epidemic. So where do we go now? How do we cure this epidemic? How do we stop feeling so alone? Well, I don't think I have all of the answers, but here's what I've realized, or I'm trying to realize. It's not always personal. So I know I said that one of the reasons why we all feel alone is because of us. I mean us, so I mean everyone, or at least the majority of people. So you can really flip that on the head. In the same way that you get too busy to reply to others, in the same way others get too busy to reply to you. Friends, the TV show, doesn't show them being at their jobs for 8 hours a day, or having to clean the flat, or having to go grocery shopping, or working on side hustles, or making time for their partners or families.
I don't understand what goes on into the mind of young people today. Why are you basing your entire lifestyle on a fucking TV show? Why are you daydreaming about that being your quote perfect life? How does that make any sense, dude? Imagine you watch Friends and then you dream of that being your own reality. NPC mentality. It's 100%, dude. It's a fucking show with a terrible laugh track and you have to watch people on a set pretend it's acting and you're trying to mold your life around a fairy tale. They've replaced Disney in this case, in this instance, with Friends, and they think life is all a party. Life is all us hanging out in a group. Life is us not working, not doing shit, and having cute little funny drama around the apartment with the guys and the girls that we live with. And oh my God, life is just so peachy, dude. It never occurred to you that it doesn't show the drudgery of like day-to-day living, the waking up feeling like shit, the harshness of reality, paying the bill. None of this, dude. It's just happy times 24/7, and that's how life should be. I want to model my life around a TV show, and now I'm depressed, sad, lonely, and alone that I didn't put in the effort to become more sociable, to meet people, to network. No. I'll blame, it's the movie's fault. It's not my own brain. I didn't make any of these decisions. It was because I watched Friends. That's why I fucked up and I ended up alone, bruh. I open up Instagram when I'm alone and I hit likes on people's profile and I'm sad. I don't have a highlight reel like that. It's not my fault. It's mostly the world. These are weak minds, dude, that will never make it. They blame their circumstances on outside factors. And that's a person who admits to themselves that they have zero control in regards to their destiny. Think about that. When you blame outside circumstances for where you are in life, you're giving power to the world instead of empowering yourself in here, understanding that with these two things, you can make all your dreams come true. With some discipline, dedication, hard work, and consistency throughout your life. These two. Nah, it's something outside of my control's fault. It's the world, dude, that put me in my spot in life. Tremendous, dude. That's the way a bot thinks. That's a person with a weak mind. Smitty strikes again. Thanks so much for the 5, brother. X filed 8 months ago, 16 years, 2 teenagers. She spends 8 hours a day on social media. Listen up, boys. Yeah, dude. The weakest minds are the ones most controlled by social media today. They have absolutely no sense of identity. They stick to it like glue, dude. And they're influenced by it like no other. Why do you think so many young people today, modern women, are so influenced by social media, and yet they have the most cookie cutter personalities, cookie cutter looks? It looks like they got taken out of a shelf like a doll, and they're walking on the streets with the same eyebrows, same lips, same fake ass, same surgeries done. Bots walking around the streets today. Why? Because they have no sense of identity, no sense of self. These people look to others, social media, to find themselves. They look to ads to find themselves. They look at literally everything but themselves to figure out their identity. They're vapid, shallow people. And you as a man have to enter the dating pool and go through a majority of that before you find a decent woman.
Or even having alone time. We all have lives and we all have so much going on. I know someone who has a chronic illness who doesn't talk about it very much, but I know for sure that it impacts the way that she socializes. My patients who come in are trying to juggle their jobs with having kids and taking their kids to all sorts of classes, and I wonder how they make time to go to the dentist, let alone make time to socialize. Sometimes we just have to realize that we are all quite busy in our own lives and we're not constantly available to socialize. But that doesn't mean that we can't have good friends. I think it just goes back to what I was saying earlier in this video about expectations. I think if we were able to manage our expectations for what friendships look like and what they are, then we can realize that we are actually capable of having real and attainable friendships. And maybe we already have those friendships in our lives, but we just don't realize that based on what we think our friendship should look like. So maybe you do have friends, but you live in a different city, or you drink and your friend is...
Whatever, dude. This is bitch ass mentality of the West today. Soft ass people that can't take some accountability and responsibility for the decisions they made in life. We'll finish off that video soon. Journey, Trials, and Joy, thanks so much, brother, for the 5. As someone not born in the USA isn't a place to find a wife. The culture of hedonism, there's no value here, so why are people surprised? Yeah, it's like needle in a haystack, dude. A vast majority of people are zombies, addicted to social media and the empowered culture and hooking up nonstop, and you do have to look far and wide to find something decent. You can, but the odds are against you.
Doesn't drink, or you have one friend versus a big friendship group, or you can only talk to your friend every so often. It doesn't mean that you don't have friends. It doesn't mean that person isn't there for you. I also think it's really important to find the right people. If you feel alone or you feel like you don't have many friends, you're probably looking at yourself and thinking, what's wrong with me? And trust me, I get that, I've been there. But I also think that not everyone is meant to be our friend. I now look back at some of the friendships that I've lost in the past, and I'm actually quite glad, not in a mean way, but I can now understand how those friendships just weren't right for me. I feel like it's the same with relationships. So we might have dated people in the past, but they're not the right person for us. And so like that with friendships, I feel like you have to test the waters, put yourself out there, and maybe go through multiple breakups until you find the right person.
What the fuck is she equating a relationship with a goddamn friendship? You gotta go through multiple breakups? What are you talking about, bro? We're just talking about friends here. Why are you putting so many roadblocks and making shit so complicated? And then you're surprised you're alone with no friends. Do you see what I mean when they do it to themselves? Do you see what I mean? Look at the mentality she has towards friendships. Word salad.
And the other thing that I've realized is friendships are a two-way street. I've now stopped blaming myself solely if a friendship doesn't work out, because it takes two people to create a friendship and maintain it. So obviously I want to do my bit, but if I feel like I've done my bit and it's not enough, then I have to make peace with that. Understanding that you want the right people around you is honestly so liberating. I feel like sometimes you really are better off without people if they're not there for you and they don't really care.
You're better off without people. If they're not there for you, they don't care. But also you have to test a few of these so-called relationships/friendships out, and you have to put boundaries up on a whole bunch of shit just to make some friends. And now I'm alone. Fuck, dude. Shocker.
About you. Put yourself out there. When you do the same things and you go to the same places, you're going to be surrounded by the same people and get the same sort of results. So if you only go to work and come straight back and then you're at home all of the time, you're only really going to meet people that you meet at work. So how do you put yourself out there? I've honestly tried so many different things. I've tried going to all sorts of classes and I've even tried friendship apps. But here's what I've realized. Putting yourself out there for the sole purpose of making friends is actually very, very difficult because making friends takes a lot of time and it's very hard to consistently put yourself out there when it's so uncomfortable to do. So instead I've realized that the best way to do this is to put yourself out there in a way that you already want to grow outside of friendships. So for example, I want to start art again. So I could very easily start going to art classes to develop those skills. I might meet people there and I might become friends with them, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going there for the art. However, it does increase my chances of finding my tribe. And this is exactly what happened with YouTube. So I started YouTube for me. It had nothing to do with meeting people because I didn't even know that you could meet people through YouTube. And so meeting people through that community and making friends was actually a very pleasant surprise. But it was an easier thing to do because I was focused on YouTube rather than making friends. Accept change. If you get married, things might change. If you have kids, things might change. If you move, things might change. I really do believe that sometimes people are only meant to be in our lives for a certain part of it rather than all of it. People definitely do come and go. I know some people who are really desperate to cling on to friendships that they had back at school, even if their values no longer align. But I do think there sometimes is beauty in letting go and making space for something else. There's this quote by Naval which says, "Life is a single player game." And to some degree, I definitely agree with that. Hopefully we will be around other people all of the time.
Bro, all these people's mentalities is a form of coping. Life is a single player game. Yeah, and you make friends along the way in your incredible quest in so-called life. You're never alone. You meet groups. You create guilds. You form parties. You go on side missions together. Yeah, it's like an MMO. You never play solely by yourself. Yeah, it's so try hard, dude. It's pathetic, man. This is a problem of the self. These people are weak mentally, and they have an issue with creating an identity and letting it out into the world. They have a negative mentality already on friendships. It's a whole bunch of negative cope about friendships and why I'm alone and how I'm going to cope with why I'm alone. And I'm going to tell you why it's okay to be alone, but also here's how you make friends. What are you talking about, dude? Find hobbies you enjoy, things you're passionate about. Go find other people that are doing them too. Go do things that make you a bit uncomfortable. MMA, working out, rock climbing, running, enter races. You can enter an Ironman. You can enter a 5K, a 10K. You can do so much shit and make so many friends while you're experimenting, learning new hobbies, becoming interesting, doing all the things you love to do. People naturally coalesce around the same interests. It's not that difficult. Only when you make it seem so negative and you try to cope so hard with all your decisions and externalize all your problems. Then you become lonely and sad.
But ultimately, we are the constant. Everything else around us can change. I definitely recognize phases in my life where I've had friends and phases in my life where I've not had friends. But if I can accept change in the form of losing friends, it also means that I can accept change where I can meet new people and make friends. So I feel like it's a balance of being realistic and being hopeful.
Not a single damn thing about your mentality, the thoughts in your mind, and how you see yourself, your self-image. Nothing. Nothing, dude.